Biz Markie was the clown prince of hip hop. He paved his own way in the industry and in turn opened doors for future legends. He was like a big kid and larger than life. Even in death, nobody beats the biz.
Nobody beats the
Nobody
biz.
beats the biz.
But what was the late, great Biz Markie really like? Welcome to Hip Hop Movie Club. This is a show for Gen X hip hop fans who want to relive the glory days and reconsider classic and modern hip hop films from a current day perspective. Together, we'll explore some of the larger societal issues raised in these films. If you've seen today's movie before, then you'll learn some fascinating trivia you might have missed. If you haven't seen today's movie before, then we'll help you decide whether this film is worth your time. Either way, you'll be a smarter hip hop fan by the end of this episode. The next 30 minutes or so, you'll get all this and more. We're three old heads who put their old heads together to vibe on these films for you. I'm Dino Wright, podcaster, filmmaker, longtime hip-hop fan. I got to see Biz Markie make a surprise appearance at a Beastie Boys Tribe Called Quest show.
I'm JB, 80s and 90s nostalgia junkie, longtime hip-hop fan, and special eds I'm the Magnificent is one of my all-time favorite tracks, and I will often jokingly sing the first verse when fake bragging about something with my family.
I'm Boogie, a DJ, longtime hip hop fan. I've seen Biz Markie perform as an MC doing a I Love the 90s tour and also as a DJ for a concert we held at Rider University.
Ooh. In this episode, we'll answer the question, was Biz Markie more than just a friend?
All Up in the Biz is a documentary movie celebrating the life and impact of the beloved Biz Markie. The playful Biz left an indelible mark on the world of hip-hop and all those who he encountered, including other hip-hop legends such as Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Dougie Fresh, and entertainers Tracy Morgan and Nick Cannon. All Up in the Biz is available for viewing on Showtime or for purchase on Amazon Prime Video. All right, let's get right into it. Boogie, what did you learn about Biz Markie's upbringing from this episode that you didn't know prior?
Yeah, so most of what I knew about Biz Markie was that he was from Long Island, but what I didn't realize is that he was originally from Harlem, and he lived there until he was 10 years old. And he said after his mom passed away, his family ended up homeless, and then Biz ended up in foster care. And he said he became good at snapping on people because people would always try to test him. And said he knew how to close doors and didn't share too many aspects of his upbringing. I guess it was a little traumatic for him. He said one of the first tapes he heard was the L Brothers from the Bronx. And I was like, okay, that's throwback right there. And he heard Busy B rhyming and said, you know what, I'm going to make my name Busy Biz Markie. And I was like, that's kind of dope. But yeah, I like that he was to roll with the Groove Line crew. I heard them mentioned like before, but I didn't hear too much about them until this documentary. And then also, one of the things that I caught was that when he was talking about the Vapors, I knew that it was actually a true story, but the actual name of the Source Crew, that was actually their name. I was like, oh, he used their actual name in the video. So I was a little wild right there.
Great stuff. Dino Wright, any comments about upbringing of Biz Markie that you learned?
I mean, I didn't really know anything about Biz Markie, surprisingly. So everything was new to me. I'm glad they talked about his struggle to get noticed and how he was doing the dozens and he was snapping but he got accepted. People accepted him. So his persistence went a long way.
Yeah, I learned about, I guess, non-traditional upbringing with multiple foster siblings, and he was always a character. They were saying a couple of the foster siblings were saying one of the first things he said to them was, "I'm allergic to grass, and medically I need to wear Pro-Keds as a medical condition." And when he was running around, like playing football or whatever, he would literally run in slow motion, like he was always hamming it up.
That was really funny.
Yeah. That was funny. Some other interesting facts about Biz Markie, or like insight into how he was that playful nature. Like, I loved seeing how he was such like a major collector of all things retro. Always wanted to say, like, bet you don't have this or have the first one of these ever made. That was awesome to see. You guys pick up on some of those things as well?
Absolutely. The Charlie's Angels figures. I'm a big Charlie Angels fan from the
Yeah,
70s.
man.
So I'm totally down with this.
The Rock'em Sock'em robots that he was saying, I was like, I still got my Rock'em Sock'em robots up in the attic, so I can relate to that. And I'm a collector of things too. I got old Transformers and GI Joe figures and
Mm-hmm.
Silverhawks and He-Man and all that stuff.
Ooh, Silverhawks. That's a throwback.
Yeah, got a bunch of that stuff upstairs.
And then Biz Markie's widow was holding up that 70s electronic handheld football game. I loved that game so much.
It was a great game. Electronic quarterback.
Oh man, my brother and I on these long car rides, we would play that back and forth. It was just the red dashes, how you would go behind the defender and you can pass through the one defender. We would hours and hours we would play on that thing. I wish I had that again. I knew they did re-release it like a few years back.
Get that again.
Yeah,
you can get that. That's cool.
Yeah, my cousins and I had various versions. We had the football, the baseball,
Yeah.
soccer. Those games were
I had the
cool. It's like
baseball one too.
it's so entertaining.
It's so funny when you look at it now, and now an app on your phone is like
Yeah,
so much better. Compare that to like Subway Surfer app or one of these things that the kids have, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe we were entertained by these dashes and dots, but we were.
yeah. And I'm so addicted to Subway Surfer, so I'm like laughing on the inside when you said that. I play it like every day.
Oh, that's a great game. Isn't that fun? Yeah, that's funny. Any other interesting facts about Biz Markie come up that you picked up on?
Yeah, I think like I knew that he was generally liked throughout the hip hop community, but it was just cool to see how he made friends by traveling all over the place and meeting artists. Like, they start off how he used to go from school to school, like performing Lottie Dottie, which is kind of funny because I'm like, dude, he got on by perpetrating.
Yeah,
And he said,
I was like, he lied. He was a liar. He said that was his song. So it was like a fake it till you make it. They said he was faking it till he makes it. He would go to the schools and start performing Lottie Dottie and saying it was his song.
oh man, that's hilarious. And it was,
Yeah.
I like how Rakim said how he walked up into Warrendak and just started beatboxing, and Rakim was like, "Hey, that's a beat," and then he just walked over and started freestyling on the beat, and they just they just started bonding over that, and he started traveling all over Long Island and different boroughs. And it was funny because as they were interviewing different people, everybody was just kind of saying the same thing. I don't know. He just kind of appeared. Like, he just was there. He just kind of appeared. He was just there. Like, nobody can really pinpoint where he just popped up on the scene. It's just like he just was there all of a sudden. And it was cool. Like, Dougie Fresh was talking about how they became friends and how he just popped up at his house and just was hanging out. And he just kept coming back. And Dapper Dan had, similar stories. It's like, that was kind of cool. Like, he just became so beloved because he was so personal and just wanted to meet people. And that was really cool.
That was the most impressive aspect of this for me, is his hustle that he had. He was MC, and then he fell in love with Dougie Fresh's beatboxing, and he said, "Teach me how." And he would show up at his house every day for like 3 weeks and just study him and learn the beatboxing techniques. And then later on, when that quote unquote scandal came about with the sampling, and he got in trouble for the sampling, he's like, "That's it. I'm done with this. I'm going to learn how to DJ." And he became a world renowned DJ. Huge corporate parties, huge celebrities would invite him. He just taught himself how to spin, and he just kept reinventing himself, which was incredible.
Yeah.
That sampling controversy was that song "Alone Again" by Gilbert O'Sullivan, the lawsuit. It was a shame because he was denied to clear the sample, but he just proceeded to use it anyway. Some said that he should have just asked for forgiveness rather than permission. Like instead of just use it, because back then, if he didn't, how much hip hop is Gilbert O'Sullivan listening to? And it wasn't like there was social media. Like he may not even got word that that song was out.
Yeah,
So
it wouldn't
sometimes
have been on
I
his
guess just
radar at
go
all.
for it. Right. There's a lot of groups that sampled a ton of stuff back then that they got through before the sanctions really started coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I think that soured him to the whole record industry, and then
Yeah,
transitioning to a DJ, and he made it to the
he's a
top
phenomenal
of the
DJ
rung
too.
there. Yep. Mm-hmm.
He used to. I've seen clips of him. He used to DJ using DJ sets using just 45 records. So he would just have 45s, and
Wow.
he had a pair of custom made Technique 1200s that just for 45s, and I'm like, wow, like I don't even know how much money it costs to get those, because just to get a pair of Technique 1200s by himself, you will run at least, if you want to get a new pair, you're gonna run at least $1,000, or so you're looking at 500, at least 500 up, and then to get them customized for the 45s, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But he was an amazing DJ.
Yeah, I love his story of how he emerged, and like you said, he just showed up everywhere. But he got tied in with this mix master Mike and Dave, the promoters, and then I love the story how he met Big Daddy Kane over at Albee Square in Brooklyn,
Uh-huh.
and he at first he came there to battle him, and then he's like joking around with him. He's like, "Listen, I got to introduce you to these guys, Mike and Dave." Gets Big Daddy Kane on the shows, gets his name out there, and he says, I'll get you a record deal." He just kind of threw it out there, and he followed through with it.
Yeah.
Craziest thing too is that Biz entered Rakim in an MC contest in Harlem, and Rakim did not win that contest. I'm like, how does he not win the MC contest?
That seems
Who is this
impossible.
guy that beat him? I need to find who this
Yeah.
guy is that beat him, and like we got to hear some of his stuff. Like, come on now.
Nah, it's
And
it's
Rakim was like, yeah,
subjective.
bro.
He said the guy's name. I forget what it was.
Yeah, he did. I can't remember. He said it's all. Yeah, he said it
Yeah,
was in his. He was in Harlem, so that probably had a
yeah,
little sway to it. But still,
right.
what can we talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. And Biz hooked up Big Daddy Kane with Marley Marl. Marley Marl was, he wanted to, he was, he had so much influence back then. He was the guy to go see, and Biz had that direct contact with him. I love this one quote that Jazzy Jeff put out there. He said, "Marley Marl was Dre before Dre, and the Juice Crew was Wu Tang before Wu Tang." That one stuck with me.
Yeah, the Juice Crew. There was a conglomerate of just raw hip hop talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of them have
Super
bars.
group.
Every
Yeah.
one of them. They all have bars. All of them. I mean, Shan and Craig G and Cool G and Shantae and Biz, like they all, and then Kane on the scene, like Master Ace, they all of them had rhyme skills just for days, bars. And like Marley Marl was like a super producer back then, and he had such reach because he had direct line to WBLS. So whatever he had, he got direct line to the airwaves with no middleman. That was crazy. Like you could cut a song with him, and it'll be on the radio the same day.
And it had tie into Uncle Ralph McDaniels with music video box. Cold Chillin' Records was born out of this. And then
Mm-hmm.
Biz's influence was not only in the hip hop music industry. You see, Nick Cannon knew him from used to carry crates for him, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
Biz taught Nick Cannon how to charm the women, and the amount of kids he has, he did a good job. I had to throw something like that out there. Oh man, but yeah, um, Nick Cannon was really influenced by Biz Markie. I didn't know that, and
Yeah.
Tracy Morgan also was super close to Biz Markie. They grew up together, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize that they were as close as they were. I mean, I knew that later on, Biz and Nick Cannon were close, but I didn't know that it stemmed all the way back to Nick Cannon being 17 and carrying some of Biz's crates for him when he had to do shows. I was like, wow, really? Because I've seen episodes of Wild 'N Out where Biz Markie would be on there, and you can definitely see that they were close, but I didn't know how far back they went. It's like, man.
Yeah, so let me transition to this. This documentary was really produced by his widow Tara Hall, and it was kind of her story to commemorate Biz's life. Did you guys know anything about Tara Hall prior to watching the documentary? If not, what are your impressions of her? Or either way, what are your impressions of Tara Hall? You want to take that, Boogie?
I started following Tara Hall like a few years back. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was right when he got sick or right before he got sick, but I saw him in the picture, and I think, and she was giving her a shout out or something like that. I was like, all right, let me go follow her. All right, so I started following her. But I remember when he got sick, she was always posting updates on him and just trying to, keep him in good spirits and just keep it, known that no, he's not gone. He's still with us, and he still needs prayers and things like that. And I thought she was seemed pretty genuine. And even now, like she still posts, every now and then about his legacy and like trying to hold people accountable for different things. Like I think right now, one of the big things was somebody. She said somebody who has a lock on his Instagram account, and they won't let it go. And I was like, wow. But one thing I didn't know was I didn't realize that she was a model prior to getting married, and so that was kind of cool. And I also never knew the story of how they met. So when she was telling the story about how they met in New Orleans while he was DJing, I was like, okay. And then she said, he was joking around and asked for a phone number. So she was like, I gave it to him, whatever. And then he actually remembered her phone number and called her back on that Monday. And it's like, I told you I wasn't going to forget. And now they became friends and how the relationship progressed. And then he asked her to marry him, but she wasn't ready at the time. She had a flourishing career. So she was, doing music videos and, photo shoots and runway work. But then she came back 10 years later and said that, everything was kind of still where she left it. And he said, I knew you were going to come back. I was like, wow, that was kind of dope. I had a little tear like,
That's really heartwarming. Yeah.
That was a touching story. Yeah.
yeah,
She seems like a lovely woman. I didn't really know much about her at all.
yeah,
You mentioned the modeling. She was in a lot of music videos like Boys to Men, I'll Make
yeah.
Love to You, and a lot of popular videos back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he kept, like you said, he kept everything in the same place. She bought housewares, plates, stemware, etc. for Biz's house, but she was following up on her career. She came back 10 years later, and everything is the same place, and they end up getting married at that point.
Yeah,
And they showed that she had a daughter, so this became Biz Markie's stepdaughter when they were married. He seemed like such a good father figure to the daughter, Avery, who's my daughter's same name. I thought that was such a cute thing that because he's such a kid himself, so
yeah,
he was great with her. Yeah.
I didn't I didn't know anything about Tara Hall either. And it turns out she had an amazing career. I mean, Wilhelmina Models is no joke.
yeah, yeah,
You get into that agency, you're really doing something.
yeah,
And it takes a lot of strength to be someone's medical advocate. I do a fair amount of reading about living well and dying well, and a lot of it's about how you want your end to be, and how you want to go, and how kind of care you want at the end of your life, and all of it's hard. And for her to do that, for him, with it's hard enough for a normal person, but for a celebrity like Biz,
yeah.
it's even worse. And so I commend her for being strong through all this, and then telling her story afterwards with this documentary.
What would you say is the most surprising thing in this documentary, All Up in the Biz? Anything surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think my most surprising thing was one of the things that we touched on already was him how big of a collector he was. I mean, like I knew he collected things because every now and then he posts stuff but I didn't realize that he had a that huge storage unit full of things. I was like, wow, he's like a super collector. But but he said
Yeah.
he started collecting things from his childhood that he never had, and when I heard that, it kind of made sense because he wouldn't really talk too much about it, but I know that it was a little rough on him sometimes. And those a lot of those toys that he was talking about, those were the top of the line toys back in the day. But they said, he always, like you said, he always teasing people, about having, I have the first one of these, or I bet you don't have this. And I was like, wow, that's kind of what kids would do back in the day. And it all made sense.
Yeah. I was gonna say I didn't real I remember the song "Me and the Biz" by Master Ace in the video where he has the Biz Markie puppet. I love that
Hmm.
song because I used to, I used to I used to imitate it. With tapping my neck. It's like "Me and the
Uh,
Biz," the whole thing. I didn't know that he didn't like
uh,
that song. Like he wasn't happy with it. Like and I don't know if he kind of cleared it with him. Maybe he thought it made him look silly or something like that. I loved Master Ace's apology rap here in the documentary. He did a whole apology rap saying,
Yeah.
he shouldn't have done that. He should have went through him first. And other surprising thing is the Just a Friend demo tape that was thrown off the porch by one of the was it producers, Bernard, where
Oh
like
yeah.
it was so unique and so out there that he's like, no, this is not going to work. And then as soon as got in other people's hands, they're like, yeah, put this out there. It's going to be a hit.
Hmm.
Yep.
Shantae that said that he had to ice down his lips after some beatboxing sessions.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so swollen.
That cracked me up.
Yeah.
I believe it. That's got to be really hard, like physically. But I think the thing that most surprised me was just how many careers he helped get started. I didn't realize that he was instrumental with, I mean, two guys like Big Daddy Kane and Rakim. Holy cow! Like without Biz, like we may not have like got to witness this greatness. Wow, we're more in debt to Biz than we thought.
Yeah. And like
Definitely.
a lot of Rakim and Big Daddy Kane are in a lot of people's top 5 MCs of all
True.
time. That's some heavy influence right there. That just shows, like, man.
Yeah, I got to see them both at the Rock the Bells festival in August, and it was like these guys, legends. They still have it. They're revered, and if it wasn't for Biz Markie, they may not have made it. You're right. I mean, he was so influential. It's unreal. I also like the scene of the Celebrity Fit Club. He won that Celebrity Fit Club when he had lost the weight. So I mean, whatever he put his mind to, he could do it. It's a shame that he couldn't get his health all the way back.
Yeah.
Um, couldn't really control it, unfortunately. But yeah, you could tell the influence he had on these guys. Rakim was tearing up at the end, and they filmed it in the high school, that Wyandotte High School where he had performed with Biz, and he was so grateful. And Big Daddy Kane was effusing praise and gratitude for all that Biz did for his career.
Yeah.
You can tell he was revered by these guys.
Like, even, and then you got the other MCs that were, that he helped, that he kind of, hung around with and influenced a little bit back and forth, EPMD, De La Soul. I was like, wow, like they all had respect for him, you know.
Yeah, a lot of those guys all grew up in the Long Island area, so they were
Yeah.
they were tight. Like that's a different breed, um, folks there. So I guess like one final question as we wind down is: did you like the overall format of the documentary? Did you like it in general, the boogie?
Well, I mean, like, the general format for me was pretty good. I mean, I like always incorporating people that are, close, people that are really close to them. So just having, like, those MCs that were really close to him, giving insider perspective. Had some some of his family members with his foster brother and sister. So I like that format. The one thing that that was a little kind of weird to me a little bit was the segments with the puppet, with the Biz puppet. It was kind of I wouldn't say that it weirded me a little bit, but it just made me real sad. But I do
Yeah.
understand why Tara included those segments. I think those segments were therapeutic for her
Yeah.
because she got to express her perspective on what was going on while he was sick, and just showing some transparency into how she was dealing with him. So I understand it from that perspective. Well, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "Whoa!" it took me back a little bit, but I got used to it after the first couple of them. I was like, "All right, all right, all right. This is not meant to be any kind of slight or a diss to him or anything like that." I just kind of think she's kind of was talking herself through it and just sharing that with us while she was talking herself through it.
It was interesting and clever. I'm not sure it landed completely, but the way you say that this is more for her to talk through and process the experience makes sense in that case. And you know, the idea of using a puppet is really fun. And Biz Markie was a fun guy.
Right.
So some of these fictionalized reenactments and things, I think that part worked for me. But the thing I really enjoyed, and this was very surprising, was that opening credit sequence set to the Bread song "It Don't Matter to Me," which this reflects how wide range uh, Biz's musical tastes were. When I saw Biz, he came out on stage to do "Benny and the Jets" by Elton John during a Beastie Boys show, um, and this is similar to what we saw in Dear Mama, where Tupac loved the song "Vincent" by Don McLean, and so it just shows that the OGs they really drew on some of the stuff that they grew up around, including things you wouldn't normally associate. These soft rock guys like Don McLean or uh, David Gates and Bread. And so I need to know more about that part because it was really like poignant. So it set the mood in a way I didn't expect.
Yeah, Prince Paul did the music for this, and Prince Paul was the one who kind of introduced us to De La Soul and did a lot of the production for them. So he was kind of behind that, and it was a great selection. I agree. The puppet thing to me was a little bit jarring at first, like you said, but I agree. It's kind of a nod to his playful nature. It's almost like I could see Biz Markie being like a permanent fixture as like a Sesame Street character because he was just so jovial and great with the kids. And you can see, remember he was on Yo Gabba Gabba, that Nickelodeon
Yes.
showed up. My kids used to watch, and I
Some
remember the
terrific
first.
stuff.
I remember the first time that Biz popped up on there, and he said Biz's beat of the day, and he was teaching how to beatbox. I'm like, this is brilliant, and my kids got a good chuckle out of that, and they would look forward to
Like, I
saying
wish
that. I
I
was
was
like, that's
DJ
Biz. I'm
Lance.
trying to teach them. Yo Gabba Gabba. I mean, that was amazing. But yeah, I like the format overall. Like you said, it showed the hospital scenes. You see the upbringing. There's a lot of people that he influenced in his life, including those mega hip hop stars and entertainers. And it was just a touching tribute overall. Like I'm glad that Tara got to tell her story because, and then at the end, there's a speech she gives, a little soliloquy at the end where
Mm-hmm.
I guess there was some negativity surrounding Biz's death. People tried to sue Biz's estate and misappropriate funds. So she wanted
Mm-hmm.
to have her say at the end
Yeah.
there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's some of that stuff that she mentioned was some of the stuff that I'd seen in posts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we watched this one. Biz is such a such a great character,
Yeah.
truly a pioneer.
Yeah. One part that I caught, it showed us there was a still shot of Biz with, oh god, I can't think of her name, stepdaughter, and he had on a t-shirt, and if you look real close at it, it was from the shirt that he had was one of Rameau's burners from Beat Street.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was that graffiti is our
Yeah,
art.
it was Ramo. Yeah.
Yeah, graffiti is
Right,
art,
right,
art is a crime. I was like, oh wow.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, I hope in his collection of some of those early, I mean, the T-shirt stuff, was it Shirt Kings or something?
Yeah, sure
Yeah.
Kings.
Yeah.
Shirt Kings he referenced, and he was big with them, and I think you said Dapper Dan, and some of his stuff will be memorialized in some of the museums. There was something that I saw was at the Universal Hip Hop Museum in the South
Yeah.
Bronx. The December 11th, 1985, Biz in the studio with Roxanne Shante, famous scene,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
pictures and or videos of that are like memorialized at the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Yeah, Biz Markie was a real treasure, national treasure that we lost too soon. Go see this, everybody.
Yeah. This is definitely worth your time.
Definitely, definitely.
Hip Hop Movie Club is produced by your HHMCs, JB, Boogie, and Dino Wright. Theme music by Boogie. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Hip Hop Movie Club. On the next episode of the Hip Hop Movie Club podcast, your HHMC's review Into Deep with Omar Epps and LL Cool J. Subscribe now in your favorite podcast app and you won't miss it. Shout out to your listeners. Thanks for tuning in.
And remember, don't hate, accommodate.
Comedy.
Nice.
Yes.
Right on.
Even in death, nobody beats the biz. Wait,
Nobody beats the nobody.
Nobody.
You have to emphasize the first part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I had the wrong one, wrong arrangement.